Happy Thursday to you, and welcome on in here to another edition of Sports Memo Today. I'm your host, Dan Alexander, and I'm excited because we're bringing back one of my favorite guests. We don't get to talk to him every week, so it's a treat when we get to talk to my guy, Ross Benjamin. He's going to have a little college football, a little NFL, and when he talks those, you want to listen. Top-rated plays in college basketball as well. We're looking at a 13-6 run for Ross. NFL plays 5 and 10% plays, or 10-star plays, 11-4 since December of last year. When Ross talks sports, we listen. Eric Pauly's going to back cleanup, but let's welcome in my guy, Ross Benjamin. Brother, it's so great to have you back on the show. Great to see that smile. How you been, man?
I'm great, man. Thank you for having me, and I appreciate all the kind words, Dan.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I'm pumped to have you back here on the show. And we mentioned those top-rated plays, but even if you just look at January 30th of this year, 58% on all NFL selections. So you've been seeing it good on the gridiron. I know you're excited about some college basketball that you have going. We'll talk about that in just a moment, because let's stick with the gridiron. Let's look at college football, because on Tuesday's show, we had JM Sports on, Jeff Michaels, and he had a boatload of trends and angles about this USC and Utah game. We also have a game under belt, so to speak, with these two facing off earlier in the year to draw on. So this is a game that could see some of the highest action of the week, Ross. Where are you going in this USC-Utah game?
Boy, oh boy, I'm looking forward to this game, and I'm looking forward to my bet that I've made on this game, because I feel real confident, Dan. Listen, these two teams squared off, I believe 3 weeks ago, or earlier this season. Let's go with that. And Utah came away with a 43-42 come-from-behind win at home against USC. And that was the only loss that USC has been dealt all season long. So not only are they playing with big-time revenge in this conference championship game, this is a USC Trojans team that you'd be hard-pressed to leave them out of the college football playoff if they win this game. So urgency and desperation is truly on the side of USC here. Not a lot of people expected them in the first year under Lincoln Riley to get to the point where they're at, or the position that they are now in, but they are. And I think they're going to relish the opportunity tomorrow night and come away with a huge effort. Not only that, you're looking at a Utah team 9-3 on the season. This was a team that was a top 10 team in the AP poll prior to the season, and was talked about as a realistic contender to get to the college football playoffs. So yes, they're 9-3. That's still a very good record. Yes, they're in the conference championship game, but there's a little bit of sadness and expectations that go along the way, and they've already knocked off USC. I just think the situation sets up real good for the USC Trojans here. And by the way, Dan, how about this? USC has turned the ball over just twice all season long. I can't remember a team being that good in that department in college football in quite some time. I'm sure there may be some that has been as good. I doubt if anybody's been any better. And if you look at their turnover margin differential, plus 22 on the year. Utah, all three of their losses came on the road this season to Florida, UCLA, and Oregon. This isn't a road game, but they're not playing on their home turf in Salt Lake City. So I am going to take the USC Trojans. I like them a lot. They opened at 1. They went up to 3. It's down to 2.5. I like USC minus 2.5, and to get to not only win the Pac-12 title game, but to get to the college football playoffs in the first year under Lincoln Riley, which is a remarkable accomplishment.
I think, too, something that really gets you excited about USC is just what this quarterback is doing right now, man. Caleb
Yeah.
Williams, the transfer, Lincoln Riley brings him in, and he is clearly a guy who wants to put his stamp on college football. So when you have a guy who's not only motivated to get into the playoffs, he's also motivated for that prestigious season-long award with the Heisman. He's playing some great football right now. A
Yeah.
signature
Yeah.
performance in a conference championship game could go a pretty long way, right?
Certainly will. And he looks like the odds on favorite to win that Heisman Trophy right now. And let's not forget, Kyle Willingham's been with Utah for quite a while. He's a
Yeah.
tremendous head coach. He's enjoyed a lot of success at Utah. However, I'll go out on a limb and say that Lincoln Riley has more big game experience when he was at
That's
Oklahoma.
fair.
These guys have been in college football playoffs, and I just think there's a lot of things to like about USC in this matchup.
Well, I know tomorrow evening I'm going to be locked to the set, and I'm probably going to be locked in right alongside Ross Benjamin, laying the 2.5 with the Trojans. Let's swing it on over to the NFL because, like we mentioned, you've been running pretty well in there in your time here with Sports Memo. And let's look at this Packers and Bears game because I'm looking at this total, and we opened around 44. We've seen some money coming for the under. So when you see that money coming in, there's even some 43s we're seeing out there. You agree with that move, or you think that just gives you a little bit more value to get up and over the total here? How are you betting this one, Ross?
Well, you know what? I'm going to go against public money, and I don't mind doing that. If you know me for any length of time, I'm a contrarian by trade when it comes to sports betting. I don't automatically go against the public all the time because they do win on occasion. But in this particular instance, I'm certainly going against them. Look, Green Bay's owned Chicago, right? They've gone 7-0 straight up in ATS in the last 7 meetings against the Bears. 11 of the last 12 they've won at Soldier Field. But I don't like the side here. I just don't. I think the total is the play. You mentioned 43 and 43.5. And you mentioned a lot of money on the under. And here's the thing, folks. I think a lot of money goes to the under on Chicago games once it gets into December, just based on the fact that people are expecting bad weather. If indeed that is the case, which I don't believe it will be a major bearing on the outcome of this game, because both of these teams have terrific running games despite their anemic passing attacks. And I think that will come into play here. And also, if you're still looking at 43 or 43.5, if there was weather problems with, especially with Green Bay's struggles offensively throughout the course of the year, I think we'd see a lot lower total in this case, if that indeed was going to come into play. Chicago's 6-0 to the over, Dan, in their last 6 games. I don't think a lot of people realize that, because you look at the Bears as a low-scoring team. Well, 57.5 points per game combined scored over those last 6 contests for the Chicago Bears. Green Bay, on the other hand, yes, they've had struggles offensively throughout the course of the year. Unknown what's going to happen at quarterback. Aaron Rodgers says he wants to play. I was a little bit impressed when Jordan Love did come in the game last week. He looked very comfortable. And I don't think the status of either Justin Fields or Aaron Rodgers should have much of a difference when it goes to this total, because I think both of these teams will have a lot of success running the ball, and that will open up some play action pass opportunities that I think me and you can complete, Dan, in this game. And look at Green Bay. They allowed over 300 yards rushing last week against Tennessee. I don't know if I remember in modern history a team allowing that many yards in one game rushing. I'm sure it has occurred, but certainly not in my memory bank. And I like to think I have a good one, even though it's short. Chicago's defense, their last 5 games, has allowed a shade under 35 points per game. Green Bay has allowed 27 points or more in their last 3, 6 of their last 8, and they've also allowed 23 or more in 8 of their last 9, which is significant when you're talking about a total this low with those atrocious defensive numbers. And both meetings last year went over the total with 75 and 66 points scored on each occasion. I'm going to go with that to continue here, Dan. I like Green Bay and Chicago over the total of 43.
Man, I love to hear it. Always looking forward to some fireworks. And also, if you're the Bears and you see Aaron Rodgers, who has owned you for the better part of his time in Green Bay, maybe a little bit hobbled, don't you think this is the spot where that team is going to be ultimately motivated to finally be able to say, maybe we own you a little bit on this Sunday? And I think you made a great point, too. Is there much of a drop-off on that offense with the struggles for Aaron Rodgers this season? Jordan Love looked pretty darn capable once he hopped in there against my Philadelphia Eagles. They had me sweating my 6.5 ticket on the Birds last week. Not too fun for me, Ross. So, total. Go ahead.
On top of that, Justin Fields' status is questionable right now. He didn't play last week. Trevor Siemian is an experienced NFL quarterback. Although you would lose that element which Fields brings to the table of improvisation and able to run the ball effectively. But you know what? I would get down now, because if Justin Fields does get the green light and the public is made aware of that, I believe this line will go up to 44 and a half at least.
Man, if you don't like Ross Benjamin's handicapping approach, then you don't like handicapping. He's got the spots, he's got the trends, and he has got the situational angles that you know and love. So hop on over to his page, sm.buzz/RB. What are they going to find over there, Ross? Because we talked a lot of gridiron here today. The hardwood's been pretty damn good for my guy Ross Benjamin. 6-0 college basketball run. You have anything loaded if people head on over to your page in that aspect?
Yes, thank you, Dan, for bringing that up. Yes, 6-0 the last 2 nights in college basketball, folks. 14-6 with my last 20. All of those plays this year. 6-0 happened the last 2 nights, obviously. I have my college basketball total of the week, and it comes in the nationally televised ESPN game between Creighton and Texas. That tips off at 7 o'clock Eastern time. We have the number 7 team in the country in Creighton, the number 2 team in the country in Texas. I have the winning total, Dan. You can get it right now at sportsmemo.com for a measly $25, folks.
I mean, you can't beat that. Ross, thanks for taking the time, man. Always love having you on. We have to have you back soon, and best of luck on that play tonight and this weekend, brother.
Thank you, Dan. Always a pleasure.
Appreciate that. Ross Benjamin, sm.buzz/RB. Go and grab the top-rated play now. So we go from, one of the guys who's been rolling in the industry for a while here to one of the hottest up-and-comers, personal friend of mine as well. So I always love when my guy EP is stopping by the show, Eric Pauly. And man, I would ask you how it's been, but every time I look at your Twitter slime action, I see you beating people down in the battle of the bets. I look at your page over on SportsMemo, sm.buzz/EP. I see 73.9% over the last month. So I could ask you how it's going. I think I know how it's been, man. What's up, Pauly?
Doing very well. Still trying to cope with the fact that it's December 1st today and that we're in week 13 of the NFL season. It's treated me so well so far after a very mediocre start. So I am excited. I love some of the games on the slate this weekend. I'm very happy to be backing up Ross Benjamin, because sitting in the back of the studio, listening to the knowledge he just dropped on me is just always amazing. So looking forward to a great segment right now.
Yeah, I think that's one of the best things of this free content that we provide both at Wager Talk and Sports Memo is, yes, we love it for the viewers. We love it for the listeners. We love it for the clients as well. But selfishly, we like the great information that we get from our handicappers as well. And one of my favorite guys to talk some teasers with is my brother, Eric Pauly. Me and him both love doing these advantage teasers. Sometimes we'll even go outside of the typical advantage Wong teasers, and we've done pretty darn good doing it. So let's talk a little 6-point teaser, and this one does check all the boxes of what you're looking for in advantage teasers. We're looking at the Giants taking on Washington. We're looking at Seattle taking on the listless Rams. It's teaser talk time. It's Eric Pauly, and the floor is yours, my guy.
So I'll start in the Meadowlands this upcoming Sunday, a game I'll be attending wearing Washington Commander gear from head to toe, except I'll be holding a Giants plus 8.5 ticket in a 2-team teaser with
the emotional
Seattle
hedge. I love it. The emotional hedge.
I drove down to Philadelphia to Washington week 3 for the Eagles game with the same thing, having an Eagles money line ticket and a teasers, watching Carson Wentz get sacked 9 times and our offense only scoring 8 points. But football, we've grown as a team. Washington 6-1 in their last 7, but there's no way to really bet this game without kind of taking the points with the New York Giants. And I say that betting with my head and not my heart. Daniel Jones, when he plays against the Washington Commanders, turns into some form of Tom Brady mixed with Michael Vick. And I don't know where that motivation factor necessarily comes from. And while the Giants are dealing with some injuries on their offensive line, they're expected to get some players back to kind of slow down this Washington Commander defensive front, which is the top of their league. And looking at this matchup, I mean, Washington, of course, has won 3 in a row. Winning 4 in a row would be tough. The Giants dropped the last 2. But I think when it comes to kind of a schematic standpoint, I honestly do trust Brian Dable and Wink Martindale over Jack Del Rio and Ron Rivera in a coaching mismatch over there. And Washington, what the Giants have done really well is a red zone defense. So I understand why the total is very low. I think Washington's going to be able to move the football, especially on the ground, considering the Giants have one of the worst averages from opposing running backs on the ground per game this season. But they're going to shore up in the red zone. Washington's not going to beat anybody's kicking field goals all day long. The Giants might just need, again, we're talking an 8.5 point teaser, right? Washington's not 8.5 points better than anybody in the National Football League, especially a Giants team that is going to stop them in the red zone. So I think that is a leg that might be a very no sweat leg. Then moving to a 4:00 game, the Rams hosting the Seahawks. Los Angeles Rams, as we know, are missing Cooper Kupp, Matt Stafford, Aaron Donald will not play. Most of their highest paid players on their side of the field will not be playing. So this is more or less like a practice squad preseason game for the Los Angeles Rams. I don't think they're going to roll over and die because they are going to play hard for Coach Sean McVay. A lot of these players on their offensive line, their wide receivers, like this is their chance to prove it and stick into the league for a while. So I think this is going to be, I wouldn't lay the 7 with Seattle, but is Seattle going to win on the road by more than 1 point? I think that is a very likely outcome. Again, both of these two plays fit the typical advantage teaser model, and I don't see another way to bet those two games besides giving the Giants 8.5 points and getting Seattle down to -1, essentially win this football game.
Yeah, and Ralph Michaels, head on over to his Twitter, Cal Sports LV, and he actually did bet on it on Wager Talk. He did a whole breakdown of how teasers has done this season, whether they're advantage, whether they're not. If you're teaming up home, or if you're teasing up home dogs of 2.5 points, just like we're looking at with the Giants, that is a 60% angle in the NFL this season. Going back the last 7 years, it's a 67% angle. So one of those legs backed up pretty strongly by a trend from our guy, Ralph Michaels. So we're looking at taking the Giants up. We're looking at taking Seattle down as they're taking on the Rams, who, man, Pauly, they look like one of the worst defending champions that we have seen in quite some time. And I know that there's been injuries, but even out of the gate, man, what's happened with that Rams team this year, I didn't think that they were going to be contending for another Super Bowl, but a little surprising in that aspect, Mike.
Yeah, they were always a team that was basically loaded at the top end and then have a bunch of guys on small contracts in the middle. So then once those injuries came to play, of course, they're one of the least injured teams in the NFL over the last couple of years. It seems to the bug has hit them all at one time. Unfortunate for those guys. And also something just to note, side note, Sean McVay might be on TV next year. Matt Stafford might retire because he's gotten his ass kicked his whole career. He's got his ring. Even Aaron Donald just signing that big deal. He could even call it quits. So no draft picks. Who wants to take over that mess of a situation in Los Angeles? A lot to think about for the future of the Rams, considering also the present of what's happening right now.
Yeah, and Matt Stafford, he's been playing about as good as Little Caesars Pizza tastes. So once he got sponsored by that Little Caesars, man, I started I don't know, getting high on the own supply. Who knows? But let's talk a little Monday Night Football action, EP. Saints and Bucks. Here's the thing is you just figure, Tom Brady, taking on a Saints team that's kind of been a little bit listless all year long, up and down. And the thing is, this Saints team has been a thorn in the side of Brady since he's been sharing a division with them. And it also looks like there's some money coming in on the dog here. The Saints, I'm seeing some 3.5s popping up at some of the sharper shops. So how are you betting this one, Saints Bucks? Or I think there's still some 4s out there, but it's on the move pretty quickly to 3.5 painted.
Yeah, the only way to bet this game is to take the New Orleans Saints plus the 4.
Wow.
It opened at New Orleans Saints minus +6, right? The Buccaneers were 6-point favorites heading into this game. I can't believe I missed the 6, the 5.5, the 5, even the 4.5. Unfortunately, I did. I'm still comfortable at this play at 3.5, and of course 4, which I did lock in. My clients that are on annual and yearly, weekly passes, they already have gotten this play, so it's still available. So by the time this goes live, hopefully you guys can take advantage of that as well. But the Buccaneers, part of their issue is, of course, the injuries to their offensive line. Tristan Wirfs going down is gigantic, but their mismanagement by Todd Bowles, Brian Leftwich, and their coaching staff, it can't be overstated how poorly they've been managing games. Tom Brady is clearly frustrated with what's going on, and now he has to go and face Dennis Allen, who has been a thorn in his side since he went to the NFC South. Brady and the Bucs did beat the Saints earlier this year, which marked the first time that Brady actually beat a Dennis on defense since he came into the NFC South. And we're talking about a New Orleans Saints team. I guess we're talking primetime Dalton, but they were shut out by the Niners last week, but they were on the doorstep of scoring multiple times. Alvin Kamara had that red zone. They had an interception called back that they would have been set up deep in the 49ers territory. So while if you're just looking at the final score, you would think that the Saints had a horrible outing against one of the best defenses in the NFL last week. That actually is not the case. They actually played pretty well. The Wirfs injury cannot be overstated how important that is for Brady. Dennis Allen already preps himself well for these games, and there is a reason why this went from Tampa Bay -6 to 4, 3.5. I expect this to creep toward a 3, and I should recommend grabbing the 4 now. The Saints team are being written off. I understand maybe they're not a playoff team. The Bucs are 5-6, and the Saints have 4 wins, right? We're not talking about a Houston Texans team or anything like that. The New Orleans Saints are still a competent organization. Again, the coaching edge, Lattimore is going to be on Evans. That's going to be a great matchup as always. Wirfs going down is so big. You got to grab the points with the New Orleans Saints.
Looking at the Saints Monday Night Football and all kinds of line moves, as Eric Pauly was alluding to there. So definitely try and jump in at the best number. You got all weekend to do it, but a lot of money coming in on the dog. Looking the same way as EP. Brother, if people head on over to your page, sm.buzz/EP. As we mentioned at the top, 73.9% the last 30 days. That's across all sports. You are seeing the board well, my friend. What are people going to see when they see your page, brother?
Sticking with the National Football League, my Week 13 All Access is up already. I have 3 plays loaded. I have 2 plays that I am eyeing that are going to definitely make the card. We'll find out what line I get them at. But again, I always love doing this for my clients, and I recommend not only for myself, but for every capper on SportsMemo, get the All Access so you get that email immediately so you can get the best number. There's nothing more important in sports betting than getting that best number. So I recommend for all of my colleagues, make sure you hop on that All Access. I have all my picks in one spot for this weekend for the NFL.
A man of the people, my guy Eric Pauly, not only telling you where to find his red hot plays, where to find all the great handicappers at sportsmemo.com. If you enjoyed the show, all we ask you to do, hit that like button, hop below, hit us with that subscribe button so you never miss any of our great free content we provide at both Sports Memo TV and Wager Talk TV. Hop in the comments. What teasers are you placing this weekend? Is USC the play in the Utah game going tomorrow evening? We'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you like the show, just tell people about us as we continue to grow here on Sports Memo Today. Big thanks to Ross Benjamin. Big thanks to Eric Pauly. I'm your host, Dan Alexander, and we'll see you Tuesday here for another edition of Sports Memo Today.